Rabbi Mark, you might want to record this.
Thank you. You know, I miss that woman who used to say recording in progress.
We can turn her back on if you want.
We could? No,
Yeah.
don't turn her on. Don't turn her on. Okay. I've been to Romamu. I've been to BJ. I've searched all over for a place to pray. I found the mosh pit and knew that this was it. I am a MOShnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. Sing it with me. I found community that is in tune with me, singing and dancing in our Zoom-a-gog. Some contemplation mixed with elation. I am a MOShnik and I'm here to stay. And we're turning gray. Actually, a little white. A chance to meet you, a chance to greet you, a time to deepen what it means to belong. Let's have some fun tonight and spread some joy and light. I am a MOShnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. Let's hear Hoff. The Hoff Memorial Harmonica Solo from the highest the highs in Shemayim. Hoff's jamming up there with Chana Binny and Yumi. Alrighty, well, welcome everybody. We don't even have a minyan, and I promised Yael like 15 to 20 people. So this could be the last time that Yael, welcome. I'm always used to saying Shabbat Shalom to you, so I almost said Shabbat Shalom. I mean, you all know.
Hello. It's nice to be here.
Most of you, if not all of you, know that I am a musician, and I used to have a band. And in my band, I would play with non-Jewish musicians, and these non-Jewish musicians played so many Jewish gigs that one of them told me that coming out of church one day, the minister was standing and greeting everybody, and he said "Good Shabbos" to the minister, which Lee was very capable of. All righty, this evening, surprise, surprise, our theme is Teshuvah. And let's start with a song. This is the time for returning to the one from where I've come from. Who am I? Where am I? When will I be the one who I was meant to be? Who am I? Where am I? When will I be the one who I was meant to be? You got it. Sing it with me. This is the time for returning to the one from where you've come from. Who are you? Where are you? When will you be the one who you were meant to be? Identify someone in the room and sing it to them. Who are you? Where are you? When will you be the one who you were meant to be? This is the time for returning to the one from where we've come from. Let your eyes scan the room. Who are we? Who are we? Where are we? When will we be the ones who we were meant to be? Who are we? Where are we? When will we be the ones who we were meant to be? So we're going to return, pun intended, to the very first stanza where we say, who am I and where am I? This is the essence of Teshuvah, oftentimes translated as return. So returning to what is the question? The teachings tonight are going to center around that question. So returning to what? Is there an untainted part of us that eternally remains, that can be returned to over and over again? Keeping in mind that Teshuvah is not a once-a-year thing. It doesn't just start in Elul and run through Yom Kippur, but rather everyday opportunities. So let's sing this one more time. And when you sing, who am I, where am I, maybe just allow those questions to sink in. Like real questions. Am I the stories that I tell myself? Am I the lived accumulation of all the stories in my lifetime? Where am I in my life? Where do I locate my soul's journey? Here we go. This is the time for returning to the one from where I've come from. Who am I? Where am I? When will I be the one who I was meant to be? Who am I?
Who am I?
Where am I?
Where am I?
When will I be the one who I was meant to be? These are the questions we ask ourselves at this time of year of deep introspection. Scott, welcome. Judy, Mira Bruch here, and Reb Sarah is here as well. Welcome. Okay, we got our minion, Yael. It is said that when each of us is created, there is a string that connects us to divinity, a string that connects us to God. When we sin, whether by commission or error, though actions intentional or intentional, this string breaks. But when we do Teshuvah, when we do this process of returning, the angel Gabriel comes down and makes a knot in the string, bringing us a little closer to divinity. You know what happens when this happens, time and time again, over and over again. The string keeps getting a little bit shorter, and with each further knot, God keeps drawing us closer and closer. The Hebrew word sin. The Hebrew word often translated sin, it doesn't mean sin at all. The word is chet. And you're wondering, why is there a woman drawing back an arrow? Well, you're about to find out. Chet appears most often in reference to a slingshot that has missed its target. Okay? That is, chet is something or someone who has gone astray, who has missed the mark, who missed the bullseye. But rather than suggesting evil, chet is a matter of straying from the correct path. Perhaps we might think of it as cosmic schmutz on our soul's front window, as we make our way, and drive through life. Like an arrow that misses its bullseye, there's nothing wrong with the arrow. It has simply not arrived where it is optimally desired. So I have a question that's not a rhetorical question, and here it comes. What is sin? And this is not a rhetorical question. Let's go around. What is a chait? What is sin? What does it mean to sin? And many of you are aware that there are different kinds of sin in our tradition, and they're all named. But to you, this is a biggie. And of course, our tradition differs from Christianity in that we are not born sinful. We're not born with cosmic schmutz. Oh, and Bruce Lund was not born sinful either. We know that for sure. What is sin? This is not a rhetorical question again. If you want to put it in the chat, great. But if you'd like to unmute yourself or just, raise your hand virtually or otherwise, let's just go around quickly. What does our tradition, or how do you understand what sin is? Come on, you have to have an answer for this as we go into Yamim Noraim, into the holidays.
I mean, I'll go.
Go ahead,
So
Mel.
for me, sin is when I know better, and I know I could do better, and I didn't. So I've missed the mark that way, and I kind of come back and course correct.
Thank you. Course correction of something that was done either by commission or omission. So whether we were aware of it when it was happening or not. And somebody else?
Acts that are unloving.
Huh. Thank you, Bruce. I'm going to take that even one step further. Acts that are unloving to our own souls, our own neshamot, that causes us to be distanced from our source. What is the greatest, quote unquote, well, actually not even with quotes around it, what is the greatest punishment that the Israelites face throughout history? Not only according to Tanakh, but also according to rabbinic literature. What is the greatest threat to our survival? What happens when we sin? Yael.
We get kicked out of the tribe.
Yeah, well, not necessarily.
We will be distanced from the tribe. We will
Okay,
not be able to be a part of the tribe.
Or distanced from the land.
Or from the land, right.
So there is a word here that I'm looking for, which is, go ahead, Meryl. I think you're already unmuted.
Exiled.
Exile, exactly, exile. So we know what it means for a people to be exiled, right? But what does it mean for our souls to be or feel in exile? Perhaps, Reb Sarah, it arises in me, perhaps this is one of, or maybe the quintessential role of the mashpia, of the spiritual director, to lead or to make suggestions to the mushpa, or the spiritual seeker, of how to reconnect and understand her or himself or their selves in relationship to divinity, distance or closeness to. And of course, that works on a pendulum. Okay, let's leave that at that and continue with some questions. Actually, imagine, this is pretty cool, if I may say so myself. Imagine a panel discussion. This question about what is sin is posed to 4 different authorities, and here they are. That's not what I want. There we go. The 4 authorities are wisdom, prophecy, Torah, and God. So they are the panel, and the question is, what is sin? Wisdom's answer, and keeping in mind that Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, When asked if he can have anything in the entire God's universe, remember what his answer is? That he have wisdom, that he have chokhmah. And so this is playing upon King Solomon as the model of wisdom. Wisdom answers the question that sin is a harmful deed. That kind of echoes what you said, Yael. What happens when we do this is evil pursues iniquity. In other words, it's a slippery slope, right? We do something, right, that is really not good for us to be doing, and we can make a long list of that, which we're not going to do. By the way, you should do that as your personal vidui for Yom Kippur, to have a list of personal things that you want to either take a quiet beat of your chest or massage your chest. But being forgiven, self-forgiveness, that's a whole other area. Maybe we'll deal with that next week. So wisdom answers in that way. Sin is a harmful deed. Prophecy answers in the following way. Now, prophecy is endeavor to commune with God. Prophecy is when one can acquire dveikut or dveikus in Ashkenaz, right? That ability to cling to divinity almost right at the source, so that you can download perhaps that which the source of all wisdom is waiting to download to us. Life, prophecy answers, equals connection to God. We are awake when we are in this state. And when we're not, prophecy's answer about what is sin is that this is death. It's a kind of death. Perhaps it's a kind of death that leads to loneliness and despair. I mean, we know what happens when we lose connection, and God willing, all of us should maintain our connections to not fall into those desperate kinds of times. So wisdom and prophecy have had their say, and Torah says, yo, what about me? Torah actually agrees with both wisdom and prophecy, and offers, in addition, that sin is an act of folly. Sin is an act of folly. In other words, the soul loses its head and does something contrary to its own true desires. Right? So the soul knows. There's a knowingness that the soul remains unscarred, untainted, that when we tap into that deep place of return, where am I? When will I return to be? That's where we want to go. So that where the soul can see clearly now. And it's a bright, sunshiny day. Last, thank you, Meryl, you get my popular culture references. Last is God. God agrees with all three of them, but God took a little spin on it. Because we know that there were a number of things that were created before creation, before Bereshit bara Elohim. And among those things were Teshuvah. Teshuvah is baked in to reality. Because God knew that, we're only human. God knew that God was going to be creating, human beings that erred. If God didn't know that, then it came as an awful surprise in the Garden of Eden. And maybe it was. Oops. But Teshuvah is the way back. So God sees sin, hate, as an opportunity to transcend our failings and to redeem them. To literally go back in time. As they say, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. Right? So these are the opinions of our four authorities. And we're going to hear from now a few more. If you're moving along the circumference of a circle, it might seem at first, at the starting point, is getting farther and farther away, but actually, it's also getting closer and closer. Every day is a return, bringing us closer to a completion of a cycle. I mean, that certainly is the brilliance of the Jewish calendar. All my life's a circle, right? Harry Chapin. We see time running in a straight line. That's not the way that our wisdom, our sacred history, our sense of time is not that it's a straight line, but rather we're returning like salmon. The Rav, and here I'm quoting Rav Joseph Soleveichik of blessed memory, points out how time really flows. Teshuvah as a primal gesture and the healing power of the journey we make through life brings us eventually back to where we began. Life and death, lightness and darkness, all opposites converge. Here's the Rav. When a person sins, he or she creates a distance between him or herself and God. To sin means to remove oneself from the presence of the master of the universe. I was standing before you, and sin came and estranged me from you. That should be a capital Y. And I no longer feel I am before you. That feeling of Shiviti Adonai Lenegdi Tamid, I will stand, place myself before you always. It kind of dissipates. I lose track of where I am. I am lost. The whole essence of the precept of repentance is longing, yearning, pining to return again. By the way, repentance is not a great word that we can readily understand. Chet and teshuvah are better suited to our vocabulary and our usage. Longing develops only when one has lost something precious. Sin pushes us far away and stimulates our longing to return. And this is why the Rambam, Maimonides, wrote, how powerful is repentance, brings us closer to the presence of God. Okay, let's stop there for a moment. Oops. Any questions, reflections, comments, troubles? If not, I'm going to continue, because now we're going in deeper. We're going to now the chief rabbi, the first chief rabbi of Palestine, Rav Kook. Rav Kook was immersed in the natural world, and many of his teachings are from that viewpoint. It's a beautiful teaching I taught at some point in the last few years about the 4 songs of the universe. You should Google that and look up Rav Kook's understanding that there are 4 songs sung. But he was a universalist. I'm sure he said Bachar Banu, as you know, the Jews as a chosen people, but he saw that the interconnectivity, not just among Jews, but amongst all people as connected to nature. So, check this out. Rav Kook, Teshuvah is returning to our true being. Now, we've already said that, but here are his words that appear in his book, Orot HaTeshuvah, The Light of Return, or the lights of return. When one forgets the essence of one's soul, when one distracts their mind from attending to the substantive content of their own inner life, everything becomes confused and uncertain. The primary role of Teshuvah is for the person to return to their true selves, to the root of their soul. Now, this is nothing that you haven't heard before. I've said it in a number of different ways tonight, but he's going to go even deeper. That Teshuvah is an expression of the highest freedom. The highest freedom. Teshuvah is the aspiration for the true original freedom, which is the divine freedom, wherein there is no enslavement of any kind. You hear that? He's taking us back to a place that Teshuvah takes us the place of such purity that it is embedded within the Godhead and remains embedded in there, living out of that place for eternity. And that is true freedom, to free ourselves from all the myriad of things that disconnect us to each other, to ourselves, and to divinity. For the creation to reach its fulfillment, and for each of us to achieve our own fulfillment, it's necessary to be who we truly are. Who am I? Where am I? When will I be the one who I was meant to be? How do I get there? It's necessary to be who we are. It's easy to say that, but how do I do it? And we're going to be doing some of that work momentarily. He continues, when one forgets the essence of one's soul, when distracts their mind from attending to the substantive content of their own inner life, everything becomes confused and uncertain. And this is a repetition from before. The primary role of Teshuvah is for the person to return to their true selves, to the root of their soul. Then we will at once return to the God, the soul of all souls. Wow. That could make your head explode, or it could allow you to breathe and feel liberated from all the holding on that we do. So again, questions, comments, Devorah, please.
Well, I have a couple of questions. So actually being disconnected, I find that can happen several times a day. That I could be doing Teshuvah over and over in a day, in a week. I don't need to wait until at certain time that the calendar tells me to do it. And so I think I think that's the same thing that we're talking about.
Absolutely. And we know that, well, some of us know for sure, that that appears in the daily Amidah twice, right? 3 times a day, sorry. Right? Return, cause us to return to you, and we will return. It's not like I said before, and like you're saying now, it's not a yearly thing at all. It is a daily, monthly, weekly, monthly, and yearly spiritual practice, right? And this is why, this is the metaphors we can use, the images is Ishayahu, Isaiah, his image of the angels, that they're running and returning, Rotz v'shov, running and returning, back and forth. It's like it's the way that the universe is laid out, is that this is part of the journey. I like to think it's part of Psalm 145, that we're talking to God, we're talking about God. We're talking to God, we're talking back to God. And there it swings back and forth, right? Times we feel connected, time not connected. There was something else you wanted to say, Devorah. I'm sorry. Devorah, did you want to say something else?
I did.
Sorry.
So that explains why davening 3 times a day is important, if you use it to return to yourself. Or meditation, or any of these practices are to always be mindful. Because the difficult thing is, what I notice is that after I go through a time of not being connected, then all of a sudden I go, wait a minute, I'm not connected. I need to reconnect. And then things start to flow differently. But being human, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. It's like you have to be looking at yourself to know that it's happening, I guess.
Yeah, right. That's the mindfulness practice. Thich Nhat Hanh encourages us to walk as if our feet are kissing the ground. Now, that's not so that we should, walk, better or whatever. But that also is soul work, and that is the quintessential pun.
So
Yael, hey, Gail, welcome. Gail, you're going to have to go back and listen to the first half hour because it's got a setup for what's about to go happen right now.
No, I will.
So 2 days ago, I think it was, I said to Yael, what are you doing Wednesday night? because I got this idea for you to lead something on slichot, something that you had mentioned to me some time ago, and then when I realized that I wanted to give you more time, I reached out to you and you said, "Yeah, that sounds pretty cool." So um, this is a really good place for me to turn things over to you, Yael. Welcome and thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Before we begin, if you don't have a pen and a piece of paper handy, several pieces of paper, why don't you go ahead and grab that real quick? Because we're going to do some writing. We're going to do 3 different writing exercises. So you might need 3 pieces of paper. Got a few people. And Mel and Mayor Bracha, I can't see you, so I'm not sure if when you're ready. So if you could just let us know, that would be great. Just waiting on Judy. Great. So let's let Judy get back and then I'll tell you what this is about, what we're about to do, and then we'll get started. We need some interlude music while we're waiting for people to get their paper. Mark, you're muted.
Return
Thank you.
again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
Here we go. Thank you. Wonderful interlude. So, I wrote a poem based on the Serenity Prayer that is about Teshuvah. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to read one section of the Serenity Prayer that I wrote, and then there's going to be a prompt, and then you'll have 3 minutes to do a timed writing exercise. And then I'm going to tell you what that is in a sec. And then we'll go have some sharing. We might not be able to get to everybody's shares. There's about 5 minutes each round for sharing. And we'll do that 3 times. And the whole thing will take about a half an hour. So timed writing is where your pen never stops moving. So when you're writing, even if you say, blah, 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 why did I do this? I don't care about this. Just keep writing. Say whatever you want to say, because eventually other things will come out. And I'm going to, at the 3-minute mark, ask you all to put your pen down. And if you feel like there's more to come, no, you always can do that after we get off the Zoom call. You can feel free to write to your heart's content. Does anybody have any questions before we begin about what this is and how we're going to do it? Okay, very awesomely good. So, Rabbi Mark, if you wouldn't mind putting the first stanza on. Okay, so remembering the yearning, the crying out to God. So here I go. Eli, Eli, my God, hear my prayer. Ten li et al-shalva, לקבל et havarim she'en b'kolti l'shanotam. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I have missed the mark, Eli. Pride, vanity, and fear have overwhelmed my humility. I've been playing God again, thinking and acting like I know best for others and myself. This usually does not work out too well for me, no matter how hard I try. When will I learn? Yet, you tell me through Zechariah and Malachi, return to me and I will return to you. I turn back to you as this humble human. Please show me, Blessed One, how to be of service to others with grace and acceptance. With clear-eyed compassion, teach me when to knock gently against shut doors and when to push them open. So here is your prompt. And I want to encourage you to write this prompt now on the top of your page. And we're going to write for 3 minutes. So go. Okay, you can put your pens down now, and remember you can come back to them. And I just want to remind everybody why we're doing this. The reason we do timed writing exercises and why it's so effective is because it allows us to bypass the brain of what we want to say and let what wants to come out of us in our truer voices. And so the act of timed writing is itself an act of Teshuvah because it allows us to return to who we are and get out of all the stories and the meanings and the mishigash that we make up along the way. Often, one of the other benefits of doing this, particularly as a group, is that it offers us a different level of witness. So pretty much all we want is to be seen and heard. And that's why we're here. We're doing Shuvah for that reason. And so when we do a timed writing, not only do we get to see ourselves in a different way, but when we share this writing with other trusted witnesses, we get to hear parts of ourselves come out that we didn't even know were there. Sometimes you might not even recognize what you wrote or what you've written because you've just been so busy writing. So that brings us to the sharing part and what it means to be a good witness when someone's sharing. Just like in our breakthrough rooms, number one, what is spoken in this room stays in this room, please. Number one, to create some safety. And number two, there's no crosstalk. We're just going to listen. Feel free to unmute and say Shmati if you'd like. But that's what we're doing here today. And so given all of that, who might like to be willing to share?
Yael, before anyone volunteers, please know that this session is being recorded. And if you would like to share something and would rather it not be recorded, let me know and I will pause the recording.
Thank you, Rabbi Mark. I forgot about that. That's a big deal. So thank you. Yeah. So who might be interested in sharing what they wrote? I will go. Oh, good. We've got two. You saved me. Reb Sarah, please unmute yourself and share with us. Thank you.
Right.
You're
Please,
unmuted. You are unmuted.
She's unmuted.
please grant me the serenity to know and accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change that which are mine to change, and please give me the wisdom to know the difference. I am humble before you, Hashem, Shafina. I only want to be in balance and take the right space. Goodbye.
Mati, thank you. Bruce, you were going to share.
I think this is what you're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Grant me the serenity to be more gentle with myself. Looking at them, I'll just read them. Grant me the serenity to be more courageous. Grant me the serenity to walk more slowly. Grant me the serenity to hold my tongue. Departing.
Shamati, thank you. Is anybody else? Please, Scott, yes.
Okay. Grant me the serenity to do this exercise without judging it or myself, and how I can't read my writing, and how without judging it or myself. that's a problem with my doing this. I can't read my writing. The point was without judging the exercise or myself and thinking that I can't do it and just do it. No, it's not the way that I have worked or that I think my mind works, but maybe I can actually do it if I let go of my assumptions and self-judgment and accept the suggestion of someone who might just know something about me or us that I haven't accepted. All right, here's why I can't read anymore. Basically, just to go with the concept, and it's not. Anyway, I think I made my point. I can't read the rest of my writing, which kind of proves my original point. All right, I won't joke. It's serious.
Shamati, and just know you can do this kind of free writing on the computer as well. You just don't let your fingers stop. So if your handwriting is hard to do, yeah. And also some people find though when they type, it's a different experience of a heart connection than when they handwrite. So, but everybody's different. So you can try lots of different things. Does anybody else want to share? We've got time for one more share. Mark.
Grant me the serenity to accept that there may never be Teshuvah with my brother, that I will be completely happy with. What do I do if he asks that general question called for every year this time? If there's something that I have done to hurt you, please forgive me. Letting go is hard. Grant me the serenity to not judge my brother, but if I do, let it be in the best light possible and allow God to sort out the rest.
Shamati, thank you. Okay, everybody take a deep breath and then get ready for the next. And please put that up. Thank you so much, Reb Mark. Ometz Eli lishanot et hafarim asher bacholti. Courage to accept the things I can. I have missed the mark, Eli. Self-will, self-pity, self-criticism, self-righteousness, control, perfectionism, lashing out at others when I'm really lashing out at myself, and so much more. Yet, you tell me over and over that repentance is within my power. I accept that I can only change myself. I am ready and willing to return to you. I will practice turning my judgment into acceptance, my anger into forgiveness, and my fear into faith. And the prompt is, grant me the courage to, and please go ahead. Okay. Stop now.
Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Lovely. Thank you, Robin. Who would like to share? The same people can share again, or different people can share. Deborah, and then Gail.
Grant me the courage to let go of the things that are harming me, the courage to keep ever moving forward, to try new things and to make mistakes and still keep going. Grant me the courage to keep growing by looking inward, even in more of the dark places, and make the changes and remember the changes as I become a better version of myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Gail and then Meryl.
God, grant me the courage to trust that you are always with me, within me, surrounding me, enfolding me. Trust and faith hand in hand, knowing that God's love is guiding me, healing me, blessing me, so that I may take the next step on the journey.
Shumati, thank you. Meryl.
Grant me the courage to accept things as they come and know that I don't control everything. Grant me the courage to admit my fears and ask for help, and have the courage to put my faith in God. Have the courage to admit my fears again related to my health, and have faith in Hashem and the guidance of my medical team. Grant me the courage to be vulnerable.
Thank you. Anybody else? We have time. Judy, please.
Grant me the courage to stand up to my brother, to change unhealthy patterns, to continue to advocate for Nicole, and to grant me the courage to be by myself and be okay with that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dan.
Grant me the courage to release my mind from its unwholesome stories, open myself to love and lead with love, listen to your voice and heed its calls, let go of unmet expectations and stay with the flow of interbeing, return again, forgive myself and forgive others.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? Okay. Why don't we turn to the third part of the prayer? Let me turn this alarm off. Ve'et hatvuna le'avhin bein hashnayim, and the wisdom to know the difference. Eli, I have missed the mark. I plead for peace within my heart and throughout the world. Yet, you tell me, open for me a gateway of repentance as big as a needle's eye, and I will open for you gates wide enough for horses and chariots. I turn to you each day, each hour, each moment, discerning more and more often when I'm running fast in the wrong direction. O Holy One, throw open your arms and welcome this bruised and battered heart. May it be so. Ken Yehi Ratzon. And the prompt? Grant me the wisdom to. And you can begin. Okay. Please put your pens down. We can take the share screen off, Rev Mark, whenever you're ready. Welcome back, everyone. Who wants to share? And the wisdom too. ... Who wants to share? Me'er bracha. I think you're still unmuted. I mean, you're still muted. There you go. Oh, now you're on mute. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So I'm going to be honest and say that I did not get paper and pencil to do this exercise because it would have taken me to go upstairs and look in the office and find paper and something to write with. And so I'm doing this freestyle.
Go for it.
Would you say the prompt again, please?
The prompt is, and the wisdom too, ...
God of all blessings and of all worlds, please give me the wisdom to know that I can't be perfect and that I shouldn't try to be perfect, that I should accept myself as I am with all of my imperfections, and to still like myself as I am and accept my failings and my falling down, and to know that you will still love me even with my imperfections.
Thank you.
Barton.
Shamati. Anyone else like to share? Feel free to share a second time. If you've already shared, it's fine. Rabbi Mark.
Grant me the wisdom to know when to take a break, to rest and to replenish. Grant me the wisdom to make a fixed time to study, for exercise, for practicing guitar and piano. Grant me the wisdom to eat when I'm hungry and not out of habit, to make connecting with beauty by walking in nature a minimum daily requirement. Grant me the wisdom to reach out to those in need, not because it's my job, but because it's my nature. And grant me the wisdom to grow younger gracefully.
Shamati, thank you. Who else? We have time for at least one more share, maybe two. Okay, Meryl and then Deborah.
And grant me the wisdom to see the opening of my heart and mind to the spiritual experiences of coming closer to you, and the wisdom to understand that love for all and for myself is the most important. Grant me the wisdom to see that anger pushes away and love draws us closer to each other and to God. Grant me the wisdom to recognize love from others, even if it is different than my way of expressing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah.
Grant me the wisdom to know what I need to know and learn when to have patience, and especially compassion for myself. Grant me the wisdom to return from the dark path sooner rather than later, because with your help, I've learned that I don't have to dwell there anymore.
Thank you. And thank everybody. Is there anybody else has a burning desire to share? Okay, Sarah, look, we have time for one more. Go for it.
Grant me the wisdom to know how I long for you, My soul knows that I meant to be an emissary of love, and yet I miss the mark sometimes. Grant me the wisdom to hold my tongue when the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart turn harsh.
Thank you. Well, everyone, I hope you have, by witnessing others and witnessing yourself, have seen the reciprocal nature of all of that and come through some rounds of Teshuvah already throughout this process. So thanks for your engagement and your participation. And thank you, Rev Mark, for having me. And I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Yael. Everything that each one of you said, everything that each one of you wrote, that's sitting in front of you, is a prayer. It is the antidote to too much fixed prayer. That the more that we find ways to allow our souls to express itself creatively, the more that we untangle those knots. Doing Teshuvah is not easy, right? As a matter of fact, I have experienced that there's a lot of pain involved, as there was for me when I shared with you, when I wrote what I wrote, that I shared with you about my relationship with my brother. Rabbi Alan Liu, who wrote the book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared, quotes the Rambam by saying, wait a second, I want to get rid of that. There we go. The repentant should change his or her name as if to say, I am another. I am not the same person who did these deeds. It is as if that person has died, which is why the day of Yom Kippur resembles a dress rehearsal for our death, not eating, dressed in white. So the point I was trying to make is that each time we let go, there might be some pain involved. Because that was our truth. Why do we do these things? In other words, why do we do the Teshuvah, ask for forgiveness, and then promise not to do it again? Well, because death, like Yom Kippur, atones. So the death of these small things brings us to a cleaner place. I made a note at the bottom, each time we forgive, we bring about the death of something that holds us back, that keeps us from circling the bases, as in that illustration before from Rav Soleveichik of we end up where we began. Right, Sarah, yeah. And you know me, there's usually a song that captures what we've been doing.
Could you just say what was on the little pill in the hand in that last? I couldn't focus in on
Good
the
question.
word.
It says forgive.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It says forgive. Well, if you've been around as long as I have, you might remember this song. It was recorded by Meg Christian. And of course, I put a capital Y for you. Because every love story is about the same thing. Our need to return to wholeness. I was walking around in little pieces, and I never even knew that the road back home to me was the road I took to you. I was walking around in little pieces, and I never even knew that the road back home to me was the road I took to you. That the road back home to me was the road I took to you. I wish you all a gentle remaining of this period of Elul. I thank you, as always, for joining me on this most excellent adventure. We all welcome Dan, who doesn't live that far away from me in Silver Spring, Maryland. Who knows? Maybe he's next door to you, Judy. Dan is a friend of Yael's who joined us this evening. Dan, you're a MOShnik. There's no membership. Membership means you show up, and it was wonderful to have you with us tonight.
Can I just say hello to Dan?
Oh, you know Dan.
Yes. That's wonderful to see you.
Lovely to see you as well.
And Yael, of course, thank you so, so much. Let's give her a Mosh round of applause. This is the time for returning to the one from where I've come from. Who am I? Where am I? When will I be the one who I was meant to be? Who am I? Where am I? When will I be the one who I was meant to be? Hopefully see you all Shabbos morning. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Oh, let me stop the